Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're going to do something a little different. Usually we're here to, fill your cup. We're here to throw a lot of data at you, new history, new tech, new paradigm.
And we love that high energy stuff.
We do. We love that energy. But today I want to invite you into a space that is a little calmer, a little more reflective. I want to speak directly to a very specific feeling you might have right now.
Okay.
Maybe even as you're listening to this. It's that tiny nagging spike of adrenaline you feel when you realize your phone isn't in your hand. Or that low hum of guilt, that Sunday scaries feeling that hits on a Tuesday night, knowing there's an email sitting in your inbox that you haven't opened yet.
It is a pervasive feeling. I mean, it's essentially the background radiation of modern life, isn't it?
It really is.
And the dangerous part isn't necessarily that we feel it. It's that we have normalized it to such an extreme degree that we don't even question it anymore.
We just don't.
We just assume the feeling is work. That's the baseline now.
Exactly. And that's our target today. We are dissecting the modern conflation, the mixing up of being reachable with being professional. We've built this assumption that if I can reach you at 9:00 p.m. on a Tuesday, you are a good worker. You're dedicated. You're in it. But if I can't, well, you must be slacking.
And we rarely stop to ask the second-order question. We focus on the utility. I can reach you, therefore I get an answer. But we ignore the physiological and psychological overhead required to maintain that connection.
The cost.
The cost. Yeah, we're going to look at the why behind our collective exhaustion.
To guide us through this, we are analyzing a fascinating piece of writing. It's from the QofeBreak series, specifically issue number 012. The title is Stark, The Cost of Always Being Available.
And that word cost is doing a lot of heavy lifting there. I mean, it implies a transaction.
It does.
Nothing is free. If you are always available, you are paying for it with something else. You are trading a finite resource for that availability.
So, our mission today is simple, but it's heavy. We are going to explore how constant availability became the default setting for the entire knowledge economy.
Yeah.
And we are going to identify those hidden costs the source talks about, specifically regarding our focus, our ability to recover, and our presence in the real world.
If I had to summarize the thesis of the source material, and really the thesis of our entire discussion today, it's this one quote.
Okay.
Always being on doesn't make you reliable, it just makes you tired.
It just makes you tired. Wow, that hits hard because it feels so true. Okay, let's get into the machinery of this.
Let's do it.
The source starts with a premise that seems obvious until you actually look at it. It says, being reachable all the time is treated like professionalism.
That is the trap right there. That is the foundational equation of the modern office. Reachability equals professionalism.
But why? I want to push on that. Why is that bond so strong? Is it just because technology allows it, or is there something deeper in how we view work?
It's a proxy. I think it's a proxy for competence.
Yeah.
That's the real issue. A proxy.
Yeah, think about the history of labor. If you were a factory worker in 1950, I could measure your value very easily. I could walk by your station and count the widgets you made.
Right. 10 widgets an hour. Good worker. I can see the pile of work.
Exactly. Input equals visible output. It's tangible. But in a knowledge economy, if you are a strategist, a manager, a coder, a writer, your output is lumpy. It's invisible most of the time.
That's a great way to put it. Lumpy.
You might stare at a wall for 3 hours trying to solve a complex architectural problem. To an outside observer, that looks like doing nothing.
It looks like staring into space.
Right. So we need a signal. We need a way to prove we are working, since the work itself is often invisible until it's finished.
Ah, so the instant reply becomes that signal.
Precisely. It's performative.
Oh.
Since I can't see your brain working, I look for the next best thing. Responsiveness. If I ping you and you ping me back instantly, that feels like competence.
It feels productive. It feels like you are on the ball. It alleviates my anxiety as a manager, and it validates your existence as a worker. It's a transaction of anxiety relief.
It's interesting you use the word performative. It reminds me of those old stories where people would, leave their suit jackets on the back of their chairs when they left the office, just so it looked like they were still in the building.
Yes. This is the digital equivalent of the jacket on the chair. 100%. Except, and this is the key difference, the jacket didn't vibrate in your pocket at dinner.
Laughing slightly.
No, it did not.
The digital version is invasive in a way the physical version never was. The jacket on the chair didn't demand your attention. It just signaled your presence. The notification demands your engagement.
It demands a piece of your brain.
Exactly. And the source material, uses a very specific phrase to describe the result of this performative availability. It calls it a slow drain.
I want to pause on that image.
Yeah.
Why slow drain? Why not burnout or stress? The word choice feels deliberate. Slow drain is medically and mechanically more accurate for what is happening to most people. We tend to think of burnout as a car crash.
A big dramatic event.
The dramatic event.
Yep.
Hit the wall, the engine explodes, you can't get out of bed. And that does happen, but that's the end stage. That's the pathology.
So the slow drain is what happens for the 5 years leading up to the crash.
Right. It implies a leak, a slow, steady depletion of your reservoir. You don't notice it in the moment. You answer an email at dinner, fine. It took 30 seconds.
No big deal.
You check a notification before bed, fine. You reply to a Slack message on Saturday morning, fine. None of these individual acts destroys you. None of them feel hard.
It's not like lifting a heavy box. It doesn't leave you out of breath immediately.
No. But cumulatively, they're preventing the tank from ever refilling. It's like leaving a background app running on your phone.
Ah, that's a perfect analogy.
You don't see it. It's not doing anything heavy. But 5 hours later, your battery's at 10% and you don't know why.
That analogy works so well because we've all had that moment. Why am I so tired? I just sat at a desk all day.
And the source argues that this drain is the primary cause of that inexplicable exhaustion. It's not that we did hard labor. It's that we never stopped the leakage.
We never closed the valve.
We are constantly expending small amounts of energy to monitor the channel. Just the monitoring itself is a cognitive load.
This leads into the normalization aspect the source discusses. It mentions how messages, notifications, and expectations stack up. I want to talk about that phrase, stack up, because it feels physical to me.
It is psychological weight. Our brains are not evolved to distinguish between a physical threat or burden and a digital one. Think about the physical world again. If someone walked into your office and put a stack of files on your desk, a literal 2-foot-high stack of paper, that is a visual cue.
It's a challenge. It's a concrete object in space. I can see it.
It's a challenge, but it's also contained. You can see the bottom of it. You can estimate how long it will take.
You can put it in a box and deal with it tomorrow.
You can. Digital notifications are invisible to everyone but you, but they carry the same cognitive weight. When you see that red bubble or the unread count ticking up, 10, 50, 100, your brain registers it as a stack that is growing out of control.
And unlike the paper stack, the digital stack follows you home. It's in your pocket while you're trying to watch a movie with your kids.
That's the kicker. That's the whole thing. The technology has shifted the baseline. It used to be that you cleared the stack when you were at the desk. Now, because the desk is in your pocket, the expectation normalized by both the workplace culture and our own internal anxiety is that the stack must be cleared constantly.
There is no off time for the stack.
Never. The stack is eternal.
And this pressure to clear the stack, it brings us to the second section of our deep dive, the cognitive cost. This is where I think the source material gets really challenging for people who pride themselves on being multitaskers.
Oh, absolutely. This challenges the self-image of the modern worker. We like to think of ourselves as high-speed processors, juggling a dozen things at once.
The source argues that this availability is actually making us, well, functionally stupider. It says constant availability fragments attention. We hear that term a lot, fragmented attention. But what is actually happening in the brain? What does that mean?
To understand fragmentation, you have to understand switching costs. The human brain is not a parallel processor. We think we are.
We really do.
We think we can do two things at once. But we can't. We are serial processors. We do one thing, then stop, then switch to another.
So when I'm writing a report and I check Slack, I'm not doing both.
No.
I'm stopping one and starting the other.
Exactly. And the cost is the energy and time it takes to reload the context of the first task.
Reload the context.
Yes. Imagine you were trying to paint a portrait, a delicate, complex task involving shade, light, emotion. Now imagine that every 90 seconds, someone taps you on the shoulder and asks you to look at a grocery list.
Even if I only look at the list for 5 seconds.
When you turn back to the canvas, you don't just pick up the brush. You have to reorient. Where was I? What was the shading here? What was the intent? That reorientation takes metabolic energy. It takes time.
And if that happens 10 times an hour?
You never get into the flow. You are essentially stutter-stepping through your day. The source says this prevents deep engagement.
Right.
You are never 100% on the task because a portion of your RAM, your working memory, is dedicated to monitoring the door.
Watching for the tap on the shoulder.
Yes. This is what psychologists call attention residue.
Attention residues.
When you switch tasks,
Yeah.
a part of your brain is still stuck on the previous task. If you check an email that makes you slightly annoyed and then go back to writing code or a strategy document, that annoyance, that residue, is clouding your cognitive capacity.
Wow.
You aren't fully present in the work because part of you is still arguing with that email in the back of your mind.
That explains so much. You feel like your brain is foggy, but really it's just cluttered with residue from 20 different microtasks you handled in the last hour.
And that leads to this absolute haymaker of a quote from the source. I know you highlighted this too.
I did.
Uninterrupted thought feels like a luxury instead of a baseline.
I circled it 3 times. Uninterrupted thought feels like a luxury. That stops you in your tracks, doesn't it?
It should. I mean, just pause and think about the implications of that statement.
It's a total inversion of how things should be.
It is. Historically, for knowledge work, for problem solving, for creativity, for strategy, uninterrupted thought was the baseline requirement. It was the tool you needed to do the job.
Right, like a carpenter needs a hammer, a thinker needs time.
A thinker needs uninterrupted time. You can't solve a physics problem in 3-minute increments. You can't write a novel in tweet-sized bursts.
You literally cannot.
You literally cannot. It takes time to load the complex structure of the problem into your mind, the whole mental model. If you are interrupted, the structure collapses and you have to rebuild it from scratch.
But now, we treat that time like a spa day.
Lots. Yes. We treat it like a rare indulgence. Oh, I'm going to turn off my notifications for an hour this afternoon as a treat.
As a treat.
We feel guilty for taking the time to actually think. We feel like we're being selfish.
That is so twisted when you say it out loud. We feel guilty for creating the conditions necessary to do the work we are paid to do.
Because the definition of the work has shifted. The work is no longer produce the result. The work is be responsive.
So the implication then is,
if uninterrupted thought is a luxury, then deep work becomes impossible for the average person. We are creating a workforce that is incapable of deep analysis because we have structurally removed the environment required for it.
it's terrifying. We are optimizing for speed of reply, not depth of answer.
Yes.
We are prioritizing the logistics of communication over the substance of communication.
And that has a cost, a massive cognitive cost. But there is also an emotional cost, which the source touches on next, and I think this part is even more insidious.
Right. Section 3. The emotional cost. The source talks about how availability blurs boundaries. Now, we hear about work-life balance all the time.
It's a buzzword.
It's almost a buzzword. But the source seems to be getting at something doper than just don't check email after 6 p.m.
It's about the mental boundary, not just the temporal one. It's about where the job ends and the self begins.
And the source says it quietly trains people to ignore their own limits.
Quietly trains. That sounds insidious, like we are being conditioned without our consent.
But dogs!
We are. It's behavioral conditioning 101. It's Pavlovian stuff. Think about it. Nobody sits you down in HR orientation and says, "Hi, welcome to the company. Please ignore your physical and mental limits. Please ruin your sleep. Please neglect your health."
Right, if they said that, you'd quit on day 1. You'd run out of the building.
Exactly. But the environment quietly trains you. You get a ping at 8 p.m. You answer it. What happens?
You get a thanks.
You get a thumbs up emoji or a thanks from your boss. That is positive reinforcement. You get a little hit of dopamine. You feel helpful. You feel seen. You feel valuable.
And if you don't answer it,
You feel anxiety.
Yeah.
You feel the silence. Maybe you see a colleague answer it, and you feel a pang of competitive fear. Oh, they are working harder than me. They are more dedicated.
So over time, the lesson is learned without a single word being spoken.
Yes, the lesson is, ignoring my need for rest leads to rewards. Honoring my need for rest leads to anxiety.
Correct. You are systematically trained to devalue your own boundaries. You start to believe that your need to sleep or eat dinner with your family or just stare at a wall is less important than the ping.
It becomes a weakness, a liability.
It's a form of self-betrayal then. Every time you answer that email when you promised yourself you wouldn't, you're telling yourself, my needs don't matter as much as this external demand.
And that is why the emotional cost is so high. It erodes your sense of agency. You become reactive, not active. You are a pinball bouncing between notifications rather than a player directing the game. You've given away the controls.
I want to play devil's advocate here for a second, though.
Please.
Because I know there are people listening who are thinking, okay, sure, deep thought is great, boundaries are great, But I work in a high-pressure industry. I'm a lawyer, a doctor. I work in finance. If I'm not responsive, I lose the client. If I'm not responsive, the project fails.
A very real concern.
How do we reconcile this ideal of deep work with the reality of a fast-paced world?
That is the million-dollar question.
Mm-hmm.
And the source actually addresses this by making a critical distinction, a really, really important one.
Okay.
It distinguishes between being responsive and being effective.
Being responsive isn't the same thing as being effective. I feel like we need to print that on T-shirts because in the moment, they feel the exact same.
They do.
If I reply fast, I feel effective.
Yeah.
I clear the task, done.
You cleared the notification. You didn't necessarily solve the problem. Let's look at a scenario.
Yeah, okay.
Imagine you have two employees. Employee A is the responsive one. You email them, they reply in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Got it. On it. Will do. They're always there. That green light is always on.
The ideal modern worker, the star, the one who gets promoted.
Seemingly.
Yeah.
But because they're reacting so fast, maybe they miss a detail. Maybe their analysis is shallow because they didn't take 20 minutes to think it through.
Because they couldn't.
They couldn't. They're operating on reflex. They're prioritizing speed over accuracy.
They're playing tennis, just batting the ball back to get it off their court as fast as possible.
Right. Now look at employee B, the effective one. You email them with a complex issue. You don't hear back for 4 hours.
And in today's culture, that 4 hours creates panic. Where are they? Are they ignoring me? Are they mad? All this narrative starts spinning.
Exactly. You feel a twinge of annoyance. But then 4 hours later, you get a reply. And it's not just, got it.
It's the answer.
It is a comprehensive, well-thought-out solution. They have anticipated your next 3 questions. They have identified a risk you didn't see. They have actually solved the root cause of the problem.
So employee B actually moved the ball forward. Employee A just kept the volley going, creating more work down the line.
Yes. Employee B created value. Employee A created activity. But our modern work culture valorizes employee A because activity is easier to measure than value.
It's more visible.
It's more visible. We mistake motion for progress.
And the source reminds us of the danger of employee A's approach. Always being on doesn't make you reliable. It just makes you tired.
And a tired person isn't reliable. That's the irony. That's the whole punchline of this joke.
That is the cruel irony. We think we are proving our reliability by staying on until midnight, by showing we're dedicated.
But at midnight, your cognitive function is degraded. This is an opinion. This is science. It is scientifically proven that after a certain amount of time without rest, your brain functions similarly to someone who is intoxicated.
You're essentially working drunk.
You are. Your decision-making is impaired, your emotional regulation is shot, you're more likely to send a tone-deaf email, miss a critical error in a spreadsheet, or snap at a colleague.
So by trying to be hyper-reliable via availability, you actually become unreliable via exhaustion.
It's a paradox, a self-defeating loop. We are chasing reliability and catching burnout. We are confusing effort with value.
Yeah.
Just because you are suffering, just because you are tired, doesn't mean you're doing a good job.
Wow.
The slow drain doesn't help the company. It just hurts you.
Let's get specific on that hurt. The source lists 3 specific things we lose. We've touched on them, but I want to explicitly break them down. The 3 pillars of cost, if you will.
Okay.
Focus, recovery, and presence.
Let's take them one by one. First, focus. We discussed the fragmentation, but let's go deeper. The loss of focus means the loss of the ability to hold a complex train of thought.
Right.
If you cannot hold a thought for more than 10 minutes, you cannot understand complex systems. You cannot innovate.
Yeah.
You cannot do anything that requires synthesis of information.
You're skimming the surface of your own job. You turn into a router just moving information from point A to point B without processing it.
You are doomed to superficiality. You can handle logistics. You can handle scheduling. But you cannot handle strategy. You cannot handle nuance. And in a world where AI is taking over the logistics and the basic tasks,
Oh.
the human value add is the nuance. It's the strategy. It's the synthesis. So you are essentially making yourself obsolete by training your brain to be bad at the one thing humans are still best at.
That is a scary thought. Okay, the second pillar is recovery.
This is biological. Your nervous system has 2 main states. You have the sympathetic nervous system, that's fight or flight.
Adrenaline.
That's adrenaline, cortisol, alertness. It's what you need when you're hunting or running from a tiger.
Yeah.
Or, meeting a deadline. And you have the parasympathetic nervous system, that's rest and digest.
And we need both. You can't be in one all the time.
You need both. But to recover, to repair cells, To consolidate memory, to emotionally reset, you must be in parasympathetic mode. You cannot repair the engine while driving the car at 80 miles an hour.
And you can't be in rest and digest mode if you are waiting for a Slack notification to go off.
You cannot. It is physiologically impossible. If you are monitoring for availability, you are in a state of alert. Even if it's a very low-level alert, it's like sleeping with one eye open. You aren't resting, you're waiting.
So even if you are lying on the couch watching Netflix, if your phone is face up on the coffee table and you're checking it every 15 minutes...
You are not recovering.
Yeah.
You are just pausing the work. You are in standby mode, not off mode. And standby uses battery.
Right.
This is why people wake up after a weekend feeling like they didn't have a weekend. Because biologically they didn't. They were on call. The cortisol never fully flushed out of their system.
That explains the chronic fatigue so many of us feel. It's not the workload, it's the lack of true offline recovery. And the third cost. Presence. This one hits home for me personally.
This is the loss of being truly there. And this applies to work and life. The source argues that you cannot be present if you are monitoring a channel for availability. Period.
It's the distracted parent at the playground, checking their phone while their kid is on the swings. We've all seen it. We've all been it.
It's that, but it's also the distracted colleague in the meeting. If you are in a meeting, but you are checking email under the table, you aren't in the meeting. You are missing the nuance of the conversation. You are missing the body language.
You're missing the idea that someone says offhand. That could be the key to the whole project.
You're trading the here and now for the somewhere else.
It's almost like we are ghosts. We are physically in the room, but our minds are haunting the inbox. We aren't fully solid in either place.
That is a haunting image, but accurate. We are dispersing ourselves. We are spreading our consciousness so thin across so many channels, Slack, email, Teams, text, real life, that we cease to have density in any one place.
Dispersing ourselves. That is a heavy concept. We're diluting our own existence.
We are. And for what? To prove we can reply in 5 minutes. To avoid the momentary anxiety of a red notification bubble. The trade-off is insane when you actually state it plainly.
So let's recap. We've looked at the professionalism trap, how we use busyness as a proxy for competence. We've looked at the cognitive fragmentation, how we are breaking our own brains. We've looked at the emotional training to ignore our limits. And we've distinguished between being responsive versus being effective. It's a lot.
It is a lot, and it can feel overwhelming, I think, to hear it all laid out like that.
The source material, does it offer a solution? Because usually this is the part where we'd give the listeners the top 5 hacks to reclaim your time.
Right.
But looking at this text, it's surprisingly light on hacks. It doesn't tell me to buy a dumb phone or turn my screen to grayscale.
And I think that is intentional. The source doesn't give us a 10-step plan, and I think that's right, because simplistic hacks, turn off notifications from 5 to 6, don't work if you haven't solved the underlying belief system.
The belief that I am only valuable if I am reachable.
Exactly. Before you can fix the behavior, you have to challenge the assumption. You have to admit the problem exists. You have to see the cost. You have to stop calling it professionalism and start calling it what it is, a slow drain.
We have to recognize that we have been trained quietly over years to view our own boundaries as obstacles to be overcome rather than protections to be maintained.
Yes, and we have to realize that we have traded effectiveness, the ability to actually do good, meaningful, deep work for the cheap high of responsiveness.
For the quick hit.
The quick hit. We have accepted the illusion of reliability at the cost of our actual capacity to function.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we aren't going to give you a challenge to delete all your apps or throw your phone in a river.
No.
That's not realistic, and that's not what this source is about. It's about analysis. It's about understanding the trade-off you are making every single day.
It is about awareness. The next time you feel that urge to check or that guilt for not checking, catch it. Don't just react to it. Recognize it. Oh, that's the slow drain. That's the conditioning. Just naming it is a powerful first step.
And ask yourself if the price is worth it in that specific moment.
Precisely. Is this specific email worth fracturing my focus? Is this specific Slack message worth interrupting my recovery? Sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes it is an emergency. We're not saying it never is.
But usually?
Usually it's just a habit. Usually it's just the ghost in the machine telling you to pay attention. It's an itch that doesn't need to be scratched.
I want to leave you with a final thought, something to mull over as you go about your day, hopefully with a little more uninterrupted thought than usual. The source told us that uninterrupted thought has become a luxury. My question to you is this. If uninterrupted thought has become a luxury for you, What is the actual price you are paying for that professional availability? Is the price your best work? Is the price your connection to your family? Or is the price just your peace of mind?
And can you afford to keep paying it?
That's the question. Thanks for listening to the deep dive. We'll see you next time.